Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Scott from Nostalgic Nightmares, and welcome to my third attempt at recording my review for Monster Blood for breakfast. The first time I recorded it, I finished it all the way through and listened to it back, and there was some technical issues. The second time I recorded it again all the way through, and when I was listening to it back to do some editing on it, I realised that pretty much the whole way through, I was calling the two main characters the wrong names. I'm calling Matt Brad and Brad Matt, and just kept correcting myself along the way, and it just became a bit of a mess. And so this is my third attempt. I hope to God that I get it right this time, because I'm sick of talking about this book. No, it is a good book, but yeah, once you've recorded a review 3 times for it, it gets a little bit tiring. So anyway, this is number 3 in the Goosebumps Horrorland series, Monster Blood for Breakfast. And for those who are Goosebumps fans, you already know that this is a sequel to 4 books from the original series, which are Monster Blood 1, 2, 3, and 4. And although Monster Blood has made some minor appearances in some other books along the way, this is the first pure sequel to the original books. And as far as I can tell, it's the only sequel that has come since. Maybe R.L. Stein will write another one in the future because he's still bringing out books, but who knows. The Monster Blood section of this book is 104 pages long and consists of 25 chapters. And I think I'm just going to start by saying I was never a massive fan of the Monster Blood books when I was a kid. I liked them. I don't mean I wasn't a massive fan, like I didn't like them. I just thought that maybe the Monster Blood always kind of acted in different ways. There was never really any kind of set rules in how it worked. So it kind of felt a little bit like it was changed to fit different stories and different rules every time. I could be completely wrong. It's been that many years since I've read them. So I'm looking forward to reading them again, to be honest, to see if my memory is right at all or if I'm completely mistaken. But anyway, I'm just going to jump straight in with what happens in this book. Our main character this time round is a guy named Matt Daniels. And Matt Daniels is a bit of a strange mix between the normal Goosebumps kind of stereotypes. So he's very intelligent and he's very sporty, and he's part of the swim team, but he gets a lot of good grades. But he's really popular, which usually jocks aren't. But as well as this, he's very sciencey and likes inventing things. But also when he's home and when he's kind of frustrated or needs to calm down, he likes to kind of take care of his ivy plants that he's got growing in his room. So yeah, like I say, he's a bit of a strange mix. Normally they're geeky and they have these like weird little hobbies, or they're popular and they're jocks and they're a bit of a bully. So it's nice to have like a popular, sporty guy who's actually quite intelligent and got these little hobbies. He has a sister called Livy, who doesn't really have a massive part to play in this story except for kind of one scene later on. So I'm not going to talk about her much until that scene. But our main other character other than Matt Daniels is a guy called Bradley Wormser, or as the guy calls him, Worm. And he is one of, I was going to say Matt's friends, but friends is a very, very, very loose term to use. He's an acquaintance, I guess, is the best time to use it. His parents and Matt's parents are in a business together, so Matt has no choice but to hang around with Bradley all the time. But Bradley is a grade A bona fide twat. I don't really know how to describe him. He's basically just like the really annoying person that you've got in your life who constantly kind of takes your things and borrows your clothes and destroys your work and makes fun of you, but says they look up to you and they want to be you, but they're always making fun out of you. They're always like, he does things like clicking his fingers constantly in Livy's face. He puts flies and stuff in their food, so that when they get rid of the food, he kind of takes the flies out and eats it anyway. Because he's always at Matt's house eating breakfast and things like that, because they're, well, I say so close. I'm doing like the air quotes, but obviously you can't see that. But I think Bradley kind of looks up to Matt in some sort of way, but not. He says that he looks up to him, kind of wants to be him, but it kind of shows it in the really, really wrong way. But in typical Goosebumps fashion, when Bradley's acting out and being a dick, if Matt or Livy ever retaliate or ever snap back, the parents obviously blow up at Matt or Livy, because God forbid that the kids are in the innocent. You know what I mean? Like, kids are always the ones to blame. It's never the friend or the bully or the other person. But yeah, this guy Bradley's a dick. He basically does other things like he brings a gas can to the house and sets it off and makes them all kind of sick from it because it's a really stinky gas bomb. When they're on their way to school at one point, he has this rock which he believes is a part of a planet, but Matt kind of goes, it's made in China, clearly, because it says made in China. So Bradley throws the rock away, but it hits the windshield of a teacher's car. But he runs away and leaves Matt to get in trouble. Luckily, with Matt being an intelligent, good student, the teacher kind of lets him off a bit and assumes it was an accident. And there's also a scene later on where Bradley cheats on Matt's test, but then Matt gets into trouble for it because he's like, the teacher kind of says, oh, why are you letting him cheat on you? Like, I know you're a good student, you just want to help him, but you shouldn't let him like cheat from your test, so this is like strike two. So basically, all along, Bradley's causing all this trouble for Matt, but then whenever the going gets tough, Bradley disappears and leaves Matt to get in trouble because Matt's like such a nice guy, he doesn't really do anything about it. But that kind of makes Bradley more annoying because he's just constantly getting the nice guy into trouble, and it's kind of frustrating because you just want Matt to stand up to him, which he starts to do later on, but it just kind of escalates to the point where you really despise this Bradley character. Like, you want him to be in danger, which is not good. But yeah, so they're the two main characters, Bradley and Matt. The other storylines that are important to note is there's a swimming competition coming up, which Matt is in, so he has to go to the swim meets. But again, they come into play later on. And the main other storyline that comes into play is the fact that there is a science competition at school, because Mr. Scotto, who is like Matt's favourite teacher, who's the one that lets him get off with a windshield and stuff, he used to be an astronaut, I believe, and there's this science experiment competition thing where the students have to like invent something. The one that comes up with like the best like invention or the best science experiment wins like a trip to like a NASA space camp and some money. So Matt is like very much a shoo-in to win this because he's very intelligent, he's very scientific, but Bradley, being Bradley, doesn't really know a lot, so he relies on Matt's ideas. And one day when they're walking home from school, Matt and Livy arrive back in the house to find Bradley sat at Matt's computer looking through Matt's notes for his experiment or his invention, and he's wearing Matt's clothes, and he's just, in general, just being a nuisance and just being in the way. Pardon me, I keep coughing. I've got a bit of a, not a scratchy throat, but you know you got something in your throat and you can't get rid of it. Pardon me. So yeah, they arrive back at the house. Bradley's there using Matt's things again, and Matt kind of blows up at him and kind of throws him out of the house because he's just so frustrated. And he notices that Bradley's gone through all his notes for his experiment, which is a mechanical birdhouse, and this birdhouse kind of has this chip which controls like light and water and food, so that it's kind of a more homely environment for these birds, and it's kind of the optimum temperature, the right amount of food for the birds. So it's pretty a useful experiment, but obviously Bradley's been looking through his notes trying to get some ideas, so you can kind of guess what's going to happen in the future. When he kicks Bradley out of the house, he notices that there's something flashing on his computer screen, and there's a message which is like, enjoy your monster blood, enjoy your monster blood, enjoy your monster blood, and then like weird eyes and this melting goop on the screen. Tries to turn off the computer, but he can't. Unplugs the computer, nothing goes away, the computer screen's still flashing. So he kind of flips his lid and runs over to where Bradley lives, which actually is next door, so runs over is probably not the best term, and starts like screaming at Bradley like, why have you broken my computer, you're such a dickhead. And Bradley basically says, I've got something on the way that's going to make me bigger, and it's going to make me stronger, and you're finally going to respect me. Finally going to show you some respect. Are you kidding? You treat this guy like shit. You really treat this guy like shit. But anyway, Matt leaves, gets his t-shirt back, even though as soon as he leaves, Bradley texts him asking if he can borrow the t-shirt again, because he's just a wind-up merchant. But yeah, so Bradley has ordered this monster blood that's on its way. We don't know what it's about in terms of this story in particular. Matt has no idea what monster blood is. He just knows that Bradley's ordered something. And then what happens next? Okay, so it's school time, and Mr. Scotto is talking to Matt about the science experiments, and he congratulates Matt, or no, he thanks Matt for helping Bradley on his birdhouse. And he's like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, Bradley's birdhouse, the mechanised one with a computer chip, and basically he has stolen Matt's ideas. So Matt like runs into find Bradley in like the locker, either the locker room or the halls where the lockers are, and in a really good move he like slams Bradley against the lockers and starts to get really violent with him, which I know you shouldn't like condone, but this kid's got it coming, guys. I mean, he's such a dick. Even reading it you get really angry because this guy is just relentless. But obviously they break up the fight. They say it's just a joke when the teachers appear because they're meant to be some sort of friends. Anyway, he's on his way home, Matt is, that day, and he's stopped in the street by these two guys, and these two men are in like black hoodies and black pants, and they're kind of really suspicious, and they kind of stop him and they're like, we want it back. And Matt's like, what do you want? I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, you've got something that we should never have sold to you. We want it back now. And they start to get a bit more creepy about it and a bit kind of forceful. Obviously, Matt has no idea what they're talking about. But at that moment in time, Mr. Scotto drives by in the car and picks Matt up and kind of saves him almost. But nothing happens at that point with those. It's kind of clear to Matt that they've got the wrong person. But cut to that night, and he's at home, and Bradley appears with this green monster blood, and it's in like a plastic egg container, and he informs Matt that he's going to eat this monster blood, and it's going to make him grow, and it's going to make him bigger, and it's going to make him stronger, and it's going to help him kind of be bigger and just better, really. And Matt puts 2 and 2 together and gets 6, and kind of figures that the two guys that stopped him in the street are after him for the monster blood, because the monster blood was ordered on his computer, so they must think that he's got it. So he says to Bradley, like, you can't eat this monster blood, it's not good for you, it's kind of dangerous, it should never have been sold. Bradley doesn't believe him. There's a bit of a disagreement between the two kids, and Matt basically steals the monster blood off him and is like, I'm not going to let you eat it, even though he considers letting Matt eat it at first. His kind of conscience kicks in and he steals the monster blood off him. And look, I'm not going to let you eat it. It's not safe for you to eat this. Which is a really nice thing for a kid to do. Like, this Matt guy has the patience of a saint to put up with this Bradley guy and to constantly kind of protect him. He's got a lot more patience than I do, because I would have kicked this kid into the ground by now and I would have rammed this monster blood down his throat. So he steals the monster blood off him. Bradley goes away in a huff, like doesn't want to talk to him. And Matt stays in the house and realises the monster blood is hot and it's bubbly and it's growing. And over the course of the next few hours it grows. He kind of funnels it into a piggy bank because it's getting so big, but it kind of falls out over his hands and over the plant. But he manages to scoop out he scoops it all off his hands, leaves it on the plant for some reason. Maybe because it soaks in or whatever. But puts it all in the piggy bank, then it gets too big for the piggy bank, so he puts it all in like the cupboard. Gets too big for the cupboard, so puts it all in some sort of duffel bag. Kind of zips it up and puts it in like a wardrobe. And that's kind of it, other than the fact that he wakes up in the middle of the night and the plant, which the monster blood soaks into, has grown from like a little plant to like a giant plant over the ceiling. Well, up to the ceiling, not over the ceiling. So he's aware now that this monster blood has some sort of weird effect that makes things grow, which he kind of knew because of Bradley going to eat it. But obviously now he's seen it in action, that it makes things grow. But that night it kind of ends with the plant's really big, the monster blood's in the duffel bag, and he just kind of goes back to bed. But it's the next morning, he goes downstairs, and guess who's there? Dickhead sat at the table, eating the breakfast as per usual. And it's Matt, Bradley and Livy sat at the table, eating breakfast, and they're talking about the monster blood. But Bradley wants it back because it's his property, he bought it. Matt says it's not very safe, but I think he goes to get it anyway. I can't remember exactly the circumstances that happen right now, but he goes to get the bag from his cupboard and it's gone. the monster blood has disappeared, so he runs downstairs in a panic. But Livy whispers to him, look, I took the monster blood to show Bradley a lesson. Like, I heard what was going on. I'm showing Bradley a lesson, so I put some monster blood in his breakfast. And at that point, Matt looks over and Bradley's eating the monster blood, or eating the breakfast. So Matt starts to panic. He's like, oh God, like I don't really know what to do now. Bradley's eating this stuff. It's going to make him grow. It's going to be like really unhealthy and unsafe. But initially he doesn't say anything. I don't know why, but at first he doesn't say anything. He actually waits till they get to school. Pardon me. Oh God, I'm dying. Yeah, he waits till they get to school, and he runs up to Bradley and he's like, look, Bradley, you need to go and see a doctor. You've eaten the monster blood. It is not safe. And Bradley started laughing at him. So Matt's very much like, why are you laughing at me? You've eaten this stuff. It's not safe. I'm trying to protect you. But Bradley kind of goes, well, you know what? That morning when I was eating my breakfast, I saw what Livy did. I saw Livy put monster blood in my breakfast. So you know what? I switched the bowls. I didn't eat the monster blood, Matt. I didn't eat the monster blood, Matt. You ate the monster blood. Ha, 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 ha. So Matt goes into like a tailspin. He's panicking. He's freaking out. He thinks he should go to the nurse, but doesn't really know what to say. But at this point, he notices that his body's changing. He's getting bigger. His clothes are getting tighter. He gets stuck in his desk, which he must grow really quickly to get stuck in a desk. I mean, come on. They're not like that small. But he's running around and doesn't really know what to do, but he's got this swimming practice championship race. So he runs to the pool, goes to the changing room first, and in a really funny moment, he takes off his clothes to get changed, and he's like looking in the mirror, like look at my muscles. Like, I think I'd do the same thing. I'd be like taking pictures, like look how muscly I am. But it doesn't really specify whether it makes you musclier or just makes you bigger. So you might not get more muscly, but you just kind of get like enlarged. I know it mentions that he looks muscly, but in the context of what monster blood's meant to do, it's meant to grow you, not make you more muscly, if that makes sense. So again, this is kind of why the rules are a little bit funny. But he gets in the pool anyway because he doesn't want people to spot that he's growing. Although someone does kind of go, oh, look, you look like you've been working out. He doesn't really respond to it because meh. And he's in the pool. The race is about to start, and he realises he's growing, and he's growing fast. And that's where he puts 2 and 2 together and realises what's going on. He realises that the only other thing that he's seen grow this fast was the plant. And what's the common link between the plant and now? Water. So he watered the plant shot up. He's now in water, he's growing really fast. And he doesn't know what to do, because if he gets out of the water now, people are going to see what he's like he's grown really big. Although they probably would have noticed it anyway, because surely his head's gone massive. But the race kicks off. He zooms down the pool. I mean, he like powers through this pool, like zoom, 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 forward and backwards. And he basically breaks the all-time record of the school. Beats them, hands down, no problem, no concerns. Everyone's congratulating him, but he needs to get out of this pool quick. So he goes to the deep end of the pool. And he gets out of the deep end and runs into the locker room. I don't know how people didn't notice that he's big, because by this point, if he's growing so big, people must notice, like, he's not this 12-year-old small boy anymore. But, you know, Goosebumps logic. Goosebumps logic. I really need to get, like, a little sting for that, like a little piece of music or a sound that plays when, like, when Goosebumps logic appears. Goosebumps logic is basically where you kind of have to suspend your belief in the realism of it, just for the sake of Goosebumps. But I kind of love it. So, yeah, Matt is huge, and he's got out of the pool. And I don't know why I'm talking like a Geordie. That is such a bad Geordie accent. What are you doing, Scott? I've had quite a few energy drinks today, so I'm a little bit like hyper. Yeah, so he's in the locker room, and in a really funny moment that kind of reminds me of Mr. Bean when he goes to the swimming pool. He loses his swimming trunks because he's getting so big they rip off. And he's running around this locker room butt naked. I mean, I don't know if it's just me. Maybe at 12 years old you don't think about these things. But there's got to be certain advantages to being a slightly enlarged version of yourself, to put it nicely. I mean, I don't know, maybe 12 years old, yeah, you're probably not thinking about these things, but you know, I've got to admit, if I could take monster blood, I could think of some useful applications for this kind of thing. I really shouldn't be talking about this in a kid's review. But yeah, so he's butt naked. He doesn't know where to go because, you know, he's got no clothes that are going to fit him. He doesn't know who to speak to help. So he just decides the best thing to do is go home, and somehow manages to get across town butt naked and giant-ish. But not even as a giant, say he's the size of like a 30-year-old adult, a tall 30-year-old adult, he's still butt naked running through town. So somehow he manages to get there. I know it mentions he's like hiding behind hedges or whatever, but these got to be some giant ass hedges, like non-stop hedges from school to home. But he gets home, runs into the house, puts on like this giant overgrown coat thing that his dad's got, to kind of protect his modesty and cover up his giant winky. And thinks the only possible thing he can do now is talk to Bradley, because Bradley ordered the monster blood. Bradley knows where the monster blood came from. Maybe he's got the box it came in, maybe there's a helpline, maybe there's instructions, maybe there's rules, maybe there's kind of, I don't know, notes on what to do should you eat it, ways to reverse the process. I don't know. So he decides, I've got to get next door, I've got to speak to Bradley. So he goes to leave the house when who stood in the door? The two guys from before. So the two guys from before were the two guys in the black hoodie and the black pants that were like, we want it back, we should not have sold to you what we sold to you. And he's like, guys, just who I wanted to speak to. Even though, well, that's not what he says. But, you know, he kind of puts two and two together, and goes, look, I ate the monster blood. The stuff that you sent me, the monster blood, I ate it. I'm big now, because they notice that he's like a giant. I'm big now, what do I do? And they're like, we have no idea what you're talking about. He's like, the monster blood, I ate it. And like, we didn't come for the monster blood, we came for the gas can. And then he realises the gas canister that I said that Bradley set off at the start of the book, which makes people sick, they are the company that sold that. So why this company decide to go around in black hoodies and jeans and not just say, we sold you a gas canister, can I have it back please? I don't know. That's kind of a bit strange. And I'm sure, unless Bradley ordered it on Matt's computer, that they're going to the wrong house, because maybe Matt ordered it at home. I don't know. It's never too clear. But basically, they're here for the gas canister, not for the monster blood. They get freaked out because he's a giant and run away. So their kind of storyline was just a big fake out. They don't really have anything to do with the story. So they leave. And Matt, I think I'm doing okay with the names this time. I think there's 2 or 3 times I've said the wrong name. But literally, it was every single time last time I did this review. Every time I talked about Matt and Bradley, I said the wrong name. So yeah, Matt goes to Bradley's house. He knocks on the door, Bradley opens the door, he's like, oh, a giant! Slams the door, and Matt's like, it's me, open the fucking door, you little prick. Kicks the door down, bursts into the house, like a Hulk, and he's like, Bradley, look, I've ate the monster blood, this is what happened, get the box, get the packaging, I need help. So Bradley eventually goes and gets the box, but as he's gone, Matt starts to hear police sirens, and he realises that something must have tipped the police off. Maybe someone saw him, maybe someone heard him kick at the door in, maybe the 2 guys who were in the hoodies called the police, I don't know. But the police are on their way. So him and Bradley dive out the back door, and what could have been some great chase scene between the police and this giant and this 11-year-old, 12-year-old boy doesn't happen. Instead, as they're crossing the back gardens to get back to Matt's house, Matt shrinks and goes back to normal size. Yeah. And they're like, okay, this is good. I'm back to normal now. Not really sure why I'm back to normal, but I'm normal now. And then nothing happens with the police. Their storyline just disappears. But Bradley reads the box of the monster blood, and it just says on it, like, we hope you enjoy the sample 24-hour version of Monster Blood. if you want to buy some more, here's where to buy some from. And that's your storyline and your reason for what's happening and why he shrunk back. It's just a sample version of Monster Blood. Yeah, okay, right, that shit. What does Monster Blood do when it's not a sample? Is it permanent? I don't know, but I'll get into that in a second. So, Matt shrinks back to normal size, but the plant doesn't for some reason. It just says that plants must act differently or react differently to this Monster Blood. So the plant stays big, but Matt's back to normal. That kind of goes nowhere. Until the next day, and this is your last chapter, and it's a nice little twist in the tale. It's the next day. It's the science competition, or it might not be the next day. It's later on. It's a couple of days later, whatever. It's the science competition. Matt arrives and he brings a mechanical birdhouse, but like a new and improved one, which is even better than the one that Bradley stole the idea for, and has more functions, more usability, and the teachers, including Mr. Scotto, are really, really impressed. And he's doing really well when, boom, the gymnasium doors burst open, and Bradley strolls in with Matt's giant ivy plant, and Matt sees red, and he's like, what the fuck is he doing my plant? And Bradley's all like, oh yeah, I made this plant really giant by using some special UV rays and all this stuff. And all the teachers and kids like crowd around him to see this gigantic plant, and they're all like congratulating him, and I'm pretty sure he wins the competition there and then, somehow. And Matt is fuming. He's like, after everything we've been through together, and all the Monster Blood shit, and the fact that I potentially could have been in serious danger because of this bloody Monster Blood, and the police were coming after me, and he's stolen my plant again. Or he's done something again to kind of piss me off. This kid. And he's going over to Bradley to tear a new arse. Or an arsehole, sorry. I'm sorry guys, I'm a little giddy. He goes over to tear Bradley a new arsehole, and as he goes towards Bradley, he notices something strange. He notices that the plant is moving, and the vines are moving around, and they're starting to wrap themselves around Bradley's ankles, and crawl up Bradley's body, and starting to wrap themselves around his body, and his wrists. And somehow Bradley doesn't notice this, but anyway, Matt notices that this plant is basically coming to life and beginning to potentially destroy Bradley. So he runs over to where Bradley is, and runs over to him, grabs Bradley's hand, shakes his hand, and says, "Congratulations on winning. You really deserve it." The end. How great is that little twist? Like, after all the shit that Bradley has put him through, Matt finally lets Bradley deal with the consequences of his actions. Love it. I normally wait till the end to talk about the twist, but I love this twist because Matt has the patience of a saint. He's like a really good kid. He's a good character to read, actually, because he's intelligent, he's sporty, he's smart, he's a good brother, he's a good friend, and he's a really patient guy, and always does right by the teachers, by the guy who fucked him over, and he's just a really nice person. Bit of a pushover, maybe, but he's just a nice guy. And so finally, after everything that he's been through, he finally gets one up on Bradley, and just leaves him to deal with the fact that this plant might attack him, because he's sick of defending Bradley and protecting him when Bradley does nothing but hurt him and cause him pain and cause him stress, cause him trouble, and just leave him to deal with the consequences of Bradley's actions. And he's just had enough. He's like, you know what, Bradley, congratulations, you deserve what you're about to get. Fuck you. And I loved it. I thought it was finally like a great little way to leave Bradley in the shit, really. Okay, on to the open plot points, or the unresolved plot points. I guess the main one to talk about, which is what I mentioned towards the beginning, is the Monster Blood itself. Like I say, please correct me if I'm wrong. I know the Monster Blood was always usually about growing, and to do with it makes things grow if you eat it. But it also has it just has weird kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Qualities, I guess. Like, I'm sure there's ones where it's bouncy, and there's ones where there is like a blue monster blood, I believe, that makes things multiply, or there's like a purpley one which makes things shrink. Although that could just be purple peanut butter. That's to give yourself goosebumps for those you don't know. It's just never really clear on what it is, and that's what I would love to know. I would love to know exactly what the monster blood is. Like, is it the blood of a monster? Is it a science experiment? Is it this kind of chemical which is sold on the black market, which could potentially be used for damage? I don't know, like, if it's a sample version which wears off, somewhere out there's got to be a real version which doesn't wear off, surely, or wears off after a long, long time. So what is the use of having this material, this chemical, this substance, which makes you grow and permanently might make you stay tall, big, massive, whatever? I mean, don't get me wrong, like I said before, I can think of a few uses that I could have for it. But except for the fact of making myself have a giant penis for a while, there's not really any good use for this monster blood unless it's turned into like a chemical weapon and is used in terms of like armies and making giant soldiers. R.L. Stein, if you're listening, I'd like some money from the sales of that book if you make it. Thank you very much. It's just a bit confusing about monster blood and why it exists. I'd love to know the history behind where it came from. Sometimes it's sold in like a shop, like the first monster blood. Sometimes it's sold on the internet. Where does it come from? Who's selling it? Is it just a normal toy that has this weird, stupid effect? Or is it, like I say, something that's sold on the underground black market, but somehow these kids have access to it? I would just like to know more. It's not that they ever try and explain it and it doesn't make sense. They just don't explain it. And in some ways that's better because they don't kind of contradict themselves. But I guess me, as someone who's been around monster blood or aware of it since I was a kid, I would just kind of like to know what it is. Even if, say, Goosebumps, R.L. Stein finally decides to finish Goosebumps and do like a final series, maybe then he can finally explain to us what monster blood is. I don't know. Yeah, that's my main issue really with this. Not issue. Issue's the wrong term to use. It's just a little confusing about why you would sell this stuff. What is it? Where does it come from? Why is there sample versions of it? You know what I mean? It's just a little confusing for me. Okie dokie, on to my least favourite cliffhanger of the book. My least favourite one is flicking through chapter 17, and it's as Matt is a giant in the school and he goes towards the pool to get in to hide himself, and as he's going towards the pool, the coach appears and goes, "Hey Matt, stop right there, you can't go in the pool." And even though it's not said in like a shouty voice, I pictured it in my head as like a, "No, don't go in the pool, no." Like a slow motion dive to stop Matt going in the pool. But basically the reason for that is because the coach just wants to wish him good luck, because clearly the coach can't wish him good luck once he's in the pool. I don't know, it just seemed like a bit of a fake out one. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep doing these bad cliffhangers. I'm not sure. I'll do it for now until someone tells me that it's stupid. I'm going to carry on with the favourite ones for definite. But my favourite one, that was my least favourite one just because it was just a bit of a cheap cop-out, fake out cliffhanger. My favourite one was probably the end twist. Purely because it was Matt finally standing up for himself and leaving Bradley in the shit. And like I mentioned before when I talked about it quite a lot, it's very rare that the end twist is like the best part of the book, because, they're normally twists that come out of nowhere or they're unresolved. And while this one, again, does remain unresolved, it's just my favourite because it is really like, finally, Matt, thank God for finally standing up for yourself. My other favourite ones in the book were there's a bit where Matt first sees Bradley with a monster blood and almost lets Bradley eat it, or also maybe when the bowls are switched, but that was kind of spoilt from the fact that it's on the blurb that Matt kind of has something for breakfast, monster blood for breakfast. So yeah, I'd say the end twist where Matt kind of lets Bradley get attacked by the vines was a great end. My review of the cover itself, I don't like it. It's like an overuse of the green, which is used in the first kind of 4 books. There's quite a lot of green, which is alright. I liked it in the first book because it was kind of a nice contrast to the purple on the Revenge of the Living Dummy. But this one's just like heavy green with this silhouette of this boy inside. And I get it to kind of show that this monster blood is growing and it can like absorb you and suck you in, which doesn't really happen in the book. It's the people that kind of ingest the monster blood. But also on this book, like on the cover, the monster blood has a face, which I guess is to show that it's evil. But the monster blood doesn't have a face in the story. It just doesn't. It's just a green liquid, like putty or like that. I always kind of think about, I don't know if you ever used to play with this stuff as a kid. I used to get it in like little canisters, and you put your fingers in it and it farts. Like that, is it called putty or green slimy goo stuff? And you used to stick your fingers in it and it just farted at you. That kind of stuff. It's just green goop. So I don't really like the cover because it doesn't really have an accurate representation of the story. It's just a bit, it's okay, it's not great. Another thing that I just remembered that was never resolved is, yes, Matt ate the monster blood, a tiny bit of monster blood, which disappeared after 12 hours. But what happened to the rest of the monster blood? Like the one that was in the duffel bag? Did that just keep growing and growing? Where did it go? Like, we never, ever, ever found out where the rest of it went. That was never resolved, I believe. As far as I can remember, that we never found out where the rest of that went, so that was a bit confusing. Great, that's going to play on my mind now. Right, story review. I enjoyed it. It was a fun read in terms of it was never boring particularly. While I really couldn't stand the Bradley character, that was because he was well written. Like, you just despised him. He was like a little shit. And when you like, there's a character that you don't like, and the one I always compare it to is the sister from Cookie Clock of Doom, because even to this day it's stuck in my mind how much of a dick she was. It's a sign that they've written it well, because if they write a bad character and you don't care about them being evil, then they're not very well written. You're just not bothered. But when there's someone who really, like, you just want to punch in the face repeatedly, he's a well written character. Bradley was a well written character. Matt was well written because I felt sorry for him, but I also felt kind of like he was a nice kid. In terms of the monster blood part of the story, I wasn't overly impressed, because I'm pretty sure that there's another maybe Monster Blood 2 or Monster Blood 3, where someone grows into a giant from the Monster Blood as well. I'm pretty sure that happens. So this story's not original. It's like a rehash of an old story, which is a bit disappointing. It doesn't add anything new to the Monster Blood kind of continuity or franchise. I would hope after 5 books that something new would be added to the mythology of this blood. Like with the Slappy books, fair enough, we don't know the full history of Slappy yet, but we do know where he comes from now. We know where he was made from and why he was made, and about his brother. Whereas Monster Blood, we've just never really had, as far as I can remember. Please forgive me if I'm incorrect, because I've not read it since I was a kid. We've never had a real kind of answer as to what Monster Blood is or where it's from. And I would hope that with this being a brand new series years and years after the originals, that R.O. Style would think, right, this is the time to kind of give us some more answers, which he didn't. He just kind of played on an old storyline again, so that's a little disappointing for me. I did enjoy the whole swimming part and him running around the school naked, not in a pervy way, but because I just giggled to myself about like why I would enjoy having Monster Blood for some sort of uses. I'm not saying anything more, but you can kind of hint what I'm looking at, what I'm talking about. I don't know what else to say. It did move at a decent pace. It was never kind of boring, like I said. there was always kind of something going on, whether it was the swim meet, the science competition, Bradley being a dick, Matt trying to deal with the consequences of Bradley's actions. There was always kind of like something new to look at, which isn't, I can't be said for every book that is coming up, unfortunately. But it was okay. And like I say, it was a very stereotypical book. It was enjoyable. I wouldn't say no to reading it again, although I don't want to read it again anytime soon after doing this review 3 times. And this review seems to have gone better in terms of what I'm saying so far. So thank God for that. Thank God I've not said the name wrong too many times. And please, please, please don't let there be any technical issues when I edit this, because I don't want to do this review again. I want to move on to the next one. Yeah, it was good. It was okay. The end twist was great. It really had some development for the main character, which was nice. He finally made some selfish decisions, which was good. But overall, I'd probably give this book maybe a C. And the reason for that is just, like, it was enjoyable, but it didn't score any higher because it didn't add anything new. It wasn't an original story. This kind of Monster Blood Making You Tall has been done before. So for that reason, I couldn't really grade it high on originality. Like I said, I don't want it to sound like I didn't enjoy this book, because I did. I enjoyed reading it. I had fun with it. I had a laugh with it. But it just didn't thrill me in the way that kind of the last 2 books I really enjoyed a lot more, and they added new things to Goosebumps and tried to do some new things. But yeah, that's my review of Monster Blood for Breakfast. Do you agree? Do you think I've downgraded it too much or upgraded it too much? What was your thoughts on this book? Did you like it? Is there anything about Monster Blood that I've forgotten? What's your theory on what Monster Blood is? I might do a separate video once I've read all the Monster Blood books again. God knows when that's going to be. On just kind of the different qualities in each book and a bit of a discussion on what it is. I don't know. But yeah, guys, that's me done for today. Please let me know what you thought of the review. Please leave a like, a comment, or subscribe. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I don't really post tons of stuff. I kind of just post loads of goosebumpy things at the minute, or just to get an idea of what's coming up. My Twitter is at Nostalgic Nightmares without the vowels, so at NSTLGCNGHTMRS. And yeah, that's my review of Monster Blood for Breakfast, which I have given a C. So my next review will be Ghost of Fear Street number 7, Fright Night, which, please God, tune into that one, because that is a batshit crazy book, which I did not see coming. Yeah, that's me done for today. Thank you for listening, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It really means a lot when have your support. Take care of yourselves and keep on screaming.